West Ham 2, Aston Villa 1. Villa lose at the Olympic Stadium. The winning run comes to an end and West Ham ultimately walk away with 3 points, and it's so underwhelmingly disappointing. It's just one of... It's one of those games where I think both teams were poor, and ultimately West Ham's are the ones that capitalise on it. And I just think really today it's just a case of we just weren't at it, and it just really wasn't our day for us. We had an injury to Digne in the first half. They also lost Antonio Cresswell, and I'm sitting there thinking we should have capitalised on it in the first half, and then only into the second half. But ultimately we didn't. West Ham took their chances, and who goes on and scores? Bloody Yarmolenko. The guy's been suffering because of the Ukraine situation. He comes on, he gets that bloody goal, and from that moment you just know it's completely killed us. It's game over then. 4-0 with the second one. Villa ultimately do manage to get one back in the second half with Jacob Ramsey, but it's just too little too late, and Villa ultimately come away from it with absolutely nothing. And it doesn't say I think both teams were poor. I think they were both poor. Ultimately, West Ham perhaps probably smidge just outdid us in that second half because we did bugger all. But it didn't really feel like they were doing a fat lot. I thought defensively we were really keeping them at bay, but at the same time, it was the same with last season, when we first played them at home. This season, can't get past Rice and Souček, and then even when we break past them, we can't get past that defensive line of Zuma and whoever he plays against. And it just happened again today. We just could not break them down and get through them. And all this free-flowing football that we saw at Leeds, this attacking style, it just wasn't able to come off today. And I think ultimately West Ham, they kept their shape very well. They stayed in a line, stayed as a unit, and really they were the more stable team at the end of it. It's massively disappointing though. Even if it was a point, I was thinking we were going to draw this game because a point would still be great to come away from West Ham. It's just the fact that it's, yet again, since being promoted, we still can't beat West Ham. And we either draw or we lose. And now, and I believe it's the last 3 games in a row now, we've lost to West Ham, and it's incredibly frustrating to see that. Same team again from the start of last games against Leeds. It was the same team. Sadly, Digne had to go off, a bit of a hamstring issue, so he's probably out for a month. Now we're going to have to play with Ashley Young, which is not ideal. It was just a lack of everything from both teams. We're stuck in the middle of the park. We couldn't get past Rice and Souček. Our midfield wasn't really pushing through them. And then we just really wasn't giving the likes of Watkins and Ings enough service up front. The odd chance from, I believe, Ings, he's just able to try and tap in, but Fabianski's able to make a save to it. West Ham with the odd chance here and there, but nothing really we'd say that's where we could have gotten it, that's where we could have stood out. And then second half comes in, we just didn't look at it at all. We just almost felt like we were completely defeated before the goal. West Ham kept piling chance after chance on. They obviously had the chance with Dawson, literally, or he doesn't even have to just put some power into it, he's just going to get his head onto it, just let it drop into the goal, and he blazes that over. Martinez makes that great save there. But Yarmolenko comes on, you know what's going to happen, he's going to get that goal, and what happens? He gets the goal, no one's closing him down on the edge of the box, either Mings or Chambers, and he's just literally stabbed at it, and he's got it into the bottom corner. And from the end, as soon as that went, he's just like, it's not our day, it's not our day. And then a few minutes later, West Ham were able to break. Fornals gets the ball in, and he's also just able to bury it away. It's 2-0, game over. And although Villa did put a bit of pressure on bringing on the likes of Bailey, we did look a bit lively, was giving Ben Johnson a bit of a tough time. I think if it was Cresswell, though, he would have had him in his pocket again. And then Buendia as well. Obviously, we've got the goal, a bit of play. Fine Ramsey on the edge of the box, he's able to slot it into the corner yet again, like at Arsenal. But it's too little too late. We had the chance, like fine margin, but ultimately the ball just wasn't going forward. We're playing it around the back, really slow, and ultimately everything about it. The goal goes in, no one's running for the ball, everyone looks defeated. And it just looked like they didn't even want to get the second goal, and ultimately Villa never capitalised on it, and they walk away with no points. It's a really big shame considering the past 3 games, which were difficult games, but Villa ultimately crumble. The clean sheet's gone. The goals have been conceded, and now we look at it again and say it's another tough set of fixtures. Now Arsenal at home Saturday. Depending on how they perform today, they could. Either way, it's going to be a tough game. Wolves away, considering how they're looking, that's going to be incredibly tough. Tottenham, whilst we could go and do something there, we won't because we're absolutely gash against Tottenham. But ultimately, the position really doesn't change. We're still in 9th. It was just a case of if we'd gotten something today, there's still that possibility we could push them for 8th or even somehow 7th. But at the very least, then we haven't lost opposition right now unless Leicester win by like 5-0 or something. Nothing's really going to change position today. Villa will stay where they are for Arsenal next week. Man of the match then, I will say Jacob Ramsey. I thought, compared to how he's been performing the last few games, really massively stepped up. That one point in the first half where he's managing to get past 3 or 4 players, West Ham players in the box for Coutinho. Just really looked up to it again, really looked like he'd taken a bit of a rest somehow. And ultimately he just came back to play himself. I thought Mings looked fine on his birthday as well, but again, him in Chambers, the first goal, not enough closing down. McGinn looks absolutely anonymous, and I don't understand how he keeps staying on this pitch. He's ridiculous. I thought Bailey looked quite lively when he came on. I'd like to see him potentially at Arsenal next week. I think when Watkins and Ings doesn't work, it's just a waste of 2 players up there. And I think when we saw Bailey and Buendia, we've lost. It's time to make a change now. Let's get perhaps one of them 2 in. But yeah, ultimately it's a disappointing result. Arsenal next week. Do I fancy us? No. We'll see, because you never know. Because there's sometimes, we did do the double over them, so they could perhaps pull it out of the bag, but who knows? Who bloody knows? So we will be there for Arsenal next week. Hopefully Villa can get it back on form, and today was just ultimately just not our day, but we will come again next season. We bloody better, because it's just disappointing, just very disappointing. So that's been me. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of it. I've been Ben, up the Villa with a Pride of Villa. We'll see you next time.